Jaydn Ott was the big news on Monday. The Cal running back who had a great career, hurt his ankle last year, did not have the best year, but he entered the portal and threw this up on his Instagram story just before the news broke that he was entering the portal. No loyalty to stagnation, which is exactly what I expect a Cal player to say. That's the level of syllables I want in my Cal player cryptic messages. But what do we think is going to happen with Jaydn Ott?
I reported last night that the early school to watch in this recruitment is Oklahoma. I think the Sooners are well positioned where it is right now. Not a done deal, nothing like that. But I think Oklahoma, they're in the best position to land Jaydn Ott at this moment.
Dude, Oklahoma's going to mess around and be good next year.
Yeah,
they are.
Yep.
I don't know.
We like John Mateer. I don't like the Giovanni Gibson injury news. Wasn't a fan of that. I'm worried a little snake bit, but Jaydn Ott, healthy Jaydn Ott is fabulous. Like, he's awesome.
Yeah. I am. So there's a few interesting things here about Jaydn Ott that I got to make mention of. One, Cal was prepared to make him the highest paid player on the team.
Mm-hmm.
And two, where it stands right now, from everything I've been told, Jaydn Ott does not have an agent, which is going to make for an interesting twist in this like modern transfer portal landscape.
Well, and that's one thing. So I got into this a lot with the Nakos stuff.
Yeah.
It feels like there's so many people with different situations.
100%.
That you get some weird outcomes. Like things are more standard in the NFL, obviously, because they have a CBA and everything, but also because it's the same kind of agencies representing most of the players. Everybody has to register with the NFLPA if they want to rep a player.
Yeah.
There's not that requirement here. And it seems like there's a pretty wide gulf between you got some big time college players who are repped by like Athletes First or CAA, but then you've also got a situation where maybe Jaydn Ott might be acting as his own agent. And we've discussed the Nico thing pretty thoroughly, but how strange does that make these negotiations?
It makes it, for the best way to explain it is like, it doesn't end up being the straightest line from entering the portal to commitment. And that just kind of is what it is. And I'm sure it will get done. And for all I know, in the next 24 hours, Jaydn Ott might hire an agent, but at this moment, from what I know, he doesn't have one.
Yeah, and it feels like the agents kind of set everything up, like every step of the way up, the ones that are more experienced. So we'll peel back the curtain a little bit. Like a lot of times, by the time you get the call before you put the news out that so-and-so is in the transfer portal, that agent has probably made the plan of, this is when we're going to announce he's in the portal. This is when he goes in the portal. We've already pretty much lined up the destination, or maybe it's a couple that we're going to look at. But that is already set up.
Or even we have two contracts ready. You got to decide between these two schools. Like it can be as simple as that too.
The thing that I think is interesting too, and not to bring it back to something else that we were talking about, but like you said, that Jaydn
Rapunzel.
No, this Rapunzel, and also too, like follicles are strong as hell.
I got to tell you about our friends at Culver's, because they are bringing us next week to Green Bay for the draft. That's right. We are going to the great Wisconsin tailgate outside the frozen tundra of Lambeau Field. And of course, you know Culver's was born in Wisconsin. It is home of the legendary ButterBurger, the fresh frozen custard, and those Wisconsin cheese curds. And they are bringing that to the rest of the country, so the rest of the country can see how the folks in America's Dairyland live, and they live very, very well. So we'll be there at the draft. We'll be talking to some players who just got drafted. We're doing shows on Thursday and Friday. It's going to be a lot of fun. I cannot wait. The NFL draft is one of my favorite days, or 3-day periods, but that first round on Thursday night, one of my favorite sports days of the year. I love it, and I cannot wait to be there with Culver's. Thank you so much, and we will see you soon. All right, Pete.
Cal is prepared to make Jaydn Ott the highest paid player on the team. Sounds really nice, but I don't know if the highest paid player on Cal's team is the 17th highest player on Oklahoma's team, right? So there's context that needs to be involved, broken down there. And then secondly, if Jaydn Ott is not loyal to stagnation at Cal and is leaving his team as one of the best players on the Cal roster right now in the middle of spring, April, then why would that be any different from a quarterback doing the same thing in terms of whether or not he's a takeable asset? Is it different for quarterbacks because they're the face of the team?
Yes. Yeah, I'd say yes. I think every situation's different. I think Tennessee feels like they can be in the mix for the college football playoff next year. And I think that they're looking at a group of quarterbacks that they feel might be in a position now where they're going to be helping their team get in the CFP. And they want to look at if that's who they're going to bring in, or they're going to bring in someone else just to push Jake and George.
My point is that if the third best quarterback in the ACC decides he wants to go to Tennessee, he's not a scumbag the way that Jaydn Ott isn't. That's all. Like that, I think that if Tennessee has an opportunity to get a starting quarterback in there that they think can help them get to the playoff,
people can feel however they want to feel about this.
Yeah, that's true.
You keep saying this is like it's a definitive absolute. You don't have to think Nico's bad. You don't have to think anybody. Like, you can think whatever you want. And I think there's a lot of people who think a guy who's a starting quarterback somewhere who had a deal, if they bail on their team now, they're going to feel a certain kind of way about him.
And I think I also can acknowledge, too, that being a quarterback comes with a responsibility that other positions don't carry.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the one thing on that, though, I'll just say is that Jaydn Ott was like one of the top 3 best players on that team. And Fernando Mendoza also made the decision in December to enter the transfer portal. So I think that might be, Cal has had a lot of roster turnover in the last few months.
Yeah, they just had a tight end into the portal. Their offensive staff is completely different. They brought in Brian Harsin as the OC. Nick Rolovich, the former Washington State coach, is there too. So there have been a lot of changes, and it may be one of those things where you go through spring and it's like, okay, maybe I don't want to do this here. So